Sports.
Oh, there it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of Hashtag Nation and Bills Mafia, I got a very special treat for you. It's been a very long time since Hashtag Sports has put out a collab like this before. The Avengers of Bills YouTube have reunited with a new face, but the same old attitude from everyone else that's on here. So obviously, you know, I'm Mario Granado of Hashtag Sports. Paul will not be with us tonight. He's got a gig, as everyone knows. So I'm going to go around the horn, say hello to these esteemed gentlemen who you all know. I got Smoking Joe Sharp from Believers Talk. Joe, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Good, man. How you doing? Long time no see. Loving doing this kind of stuff. So.
Oh God, I can't. I love. It's so much. We're going to talk about the Bills' victory over the Jets and how they're going to do against the Miami Dolphins coming up this weekend. It's going to be so much fun. And then we have the great grand nephew of Pat Garrett from the Cold Front Report. We got Clayton Garrett over here. How you doing, Clayton? How's it going, buddy?
I'm doing all right, Mario. I had you on the Saturday Night Tailgate last week. It's a pleasure to be back on with Hashtag Nation.
So yeah, we haven't had you on since the draft. It was definitely a lot of fun, and it's gonna be a riot tonight. I just feel the personalities that we have in here are just gonna mesh really well. And last but not least, the man who has "Yo, what's up" on his Tinder profile, Dan Mitchell. Dan, how you doing, buddy?
And so first off, don't start the stream off by slandering me. You're going to get me in trouble. Okay? Number two, yo.
There
welcome to the second edition of the Avengers assembling in the 2020 season. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to talk about this evening. And let's just dive right in.
Absolutely, no question. Hashtag Nation, Elliot, Apex, Paul, Jeff, Truth to Hearts, John Marlowe, Chino, Keith Osborne. We got everybody, the usual suspects, as I like to call them, for Hashtag Nation, are in the chat. Boys, we saw the Buffalo Bills open up a season, have an opening game this season that we haven't seen in a long time. You know, the offense was clicking, the defense was all over the place. I want to start with Clayton, and I'm going to kick it over to Joe, and then I'll have Dan clean up on this one. Clayton, what was the first thing that stood out in your mind over the Buffalo Bills victory over the New York Jets?
Well, I don't know if you want to say it's an easy answer, but I think it's the obvious answer, and that is really kind of the growth we've seen from Josh Allen from last year, his last game that we saw him in Houston to now. I mean, granted, he's going up against probably one of the three worst pass defenses in football, in my opinion, in that game. And the Jets are probably the worst team that this team is going to play all season. But he did execute. He looked very efficient in that offense. Because to be quite honest, Mario, I messaged you probably almost in the second half. Yep. And I said it looks like the same exact offense just being ran with more efficiency.
Absolutely.
And it really did. And you talk about it, and it's just like the backs only had 18 carries. Josh carried the ball 14 times. I'm sure we'll get into that in a little bit. But overall, it was a very successful performance for the Bills, and it was really derivative from who I think is the leader of this football team, Josh Allen.
Beautiful. Joe, what do you got?
So, at the beginning of the game, if you had said, hey, the Bills are going to win 27-17, the Jets are going to score a late crap touchdown at the end, everyone would be excited. But then if you go to the 6-minute mark of the second quarter, if you would have said the same thing, people would be like, wait, what happened? To speak to Clayton's point, there was a play first quarter where you see Josh Allen looking deep, like he wants to go for a deep ball, and he checks it down to Singletary for a 9-yard gain. And at that moment, I was like, that's something Josh Allen would not have done prior. So there's a lot of positives to take out of this game. However, I also want to tell people you can be happy about a win and still see room for improvement. And I think that's the scary good thing about this Buffalo Bills team is they looked really good, and there was plenty of room for improvement after the game.
Awesome. Danny, what you got, bud?
So honestly, man, make no mistake. Don't look at the score. The Buffalo Bills legitimately dominated each and every single aspect of that game. Now, for Bills fans clamoring for years and years that they wanted to see a pass-heavy offense, Bills fans got that during week one. And I was more than impressed with Josh Allen and his overall performance. Now, granted, of course, there's things that he needs to clean up as far as his ball security issues and maybe that one airmail that he launched straight over John Brown's head. And of course, we all know that despite the fact that our leader threw for over 300 yards for the first time in his career, 3 touchdowns with the 2 in the air, 1 on the ground. The only thing you see in the media is either those 2 fumbles or so the airmail throw right over John Brown's head by itself. But all in all, was very happy with the offense moving forward. However, I think with week 2, we're going to be seeing a different type of scheme against the Dolphins, and I'm excited to dive into that.
Yeah, I can't wait. My initial reactions to the game was I was like, this offense is looking rather crisp after the first couple quarters. Obviously, having the shortened training camp, the no preseason games. Usually that's when they start to clear some of these things up. You start to see. I mean, the Bills, returned 88% of their roster from last year, and though that's a team and that's going to have a decided advantage over other teams that didn't get a chance that have a lot of new parts in there. We talk about the Jets, though. You talk about the Jets not having C.J. Mosley. He opts out. They end up trading Jamal Adams. Le'Veon Bell pulls up with a hamstring right before the half. I mean, what weapons really did they have left in the tank to compete with the Buffalo Bills? And it was more of the mistakes that kept the Jets in the game for a little bit, even though they had the garbage touchdown, as was noted. But they, the Bills were like, okay, let's try to clean up these things against the Jets, and then when we finally start playing teams that are actually going to be very formidable, then we'll be able to, start mix and match and stuff. But it said in the chat a couple times, the 10 personnel, some of the mixes, the screens that Dable was calling was actually, it was good. It was good. I mean, I'll get in my thoughts about Brian Dable a little bit later, but Clayton already knows about that. But all in all, you can't discount a win in the NFL. I mean, a win's a win. And it was absolutely fantastic. So,
especially not a divisional.
And so, but then again as well, like they say that we didn't have a preseason at all this year, but yeah. I look at week 1 as a damn preseason game.
Yeah.
Just based off of how absolute shit that Jets franchise is.
Yeah, like we talked about it on our post game just a little bit. We were saying, listen, is this just the complete dominance of the Bills, or is this the Jets' futility? Well, was the Jets' offense really that bad, or is this Bills' defense going to go down in the annals of history? So it's a lot of things to take in. It's only 1 week. But that leads us to our next topic, and I'm going to rubber band this. We're going to start with Dan, go to Joe, and kick it back to Clayton for cleanup. The linebacker situation is a concern for the Buffalo Bills, even coming into the season. If you lost Edmonds, if you lost Milano, well, they did sign AJ Klein as like, for me it was an insurance policy. So going into this week, we hear that Milano was not on the field, but Edmonds was. Dan, what's your take on the linebacker situation going into week 2 against the Dolphins?
So the one thing that I'm nervous about is the fact that last year, out of all the shit that we ever got of the Bills not being able to stop the run, really boiled down to the games where Matt Milano was not there, specifically against the Philadelphia Eagles in 2019. And we all remember that Jordan Howard and his running back mate absolutely ran all over us. And that largely had to do with that narrative of why the Bills can't stop the run. And so to be honest with you, I'm happy that Edmonds is out on the practice field, at least with a non-contact jersey. It's looking like he will be available during week 2, that matchup. But without Milano, I have a feeling that the Dolphins might see some success running against us at this point. As far as linebacker is concerned, I really didn't understand how much of a need that there was for additional linebacker depth. But it looks like next offseason that's going to be a number 1 of the priority.
Joe, what do you got?
I see you already got him, but I was going to help you out with Smiley 716 there. We got you. Don't worry about it. We got him. But so going into the season, I wasn't, like Dan, I wasn't too worried about the linebacking situation just because of the depth we have at our defensive line and how we're going to rotate the defensive line. If you watch the Jets game, and I didn't take too close a look at it, but for the most part, I don't remember rushing any linebackers all that often. We didn't send any exotic blitz schemes in that regard. I saw a lot of safety blitzes, but by a lot, I mean like 5. But I didn't see too many linebacker blitzes. And so even though we have, and it was mentioned in the chat, Edmonds is back. He's in a red jersey, probably going to be questionable, probably going to be a game time decision. Dodson's back. He was a full participant today in practice as well. So those are huge, right? If we would have gone, if Edmonds can't play in this game, that's definitely going to be a huge disadvantage. But luckily it's against the Dolphins. I mean, this game, not just this game, but like when coach said on Tuesday they don't look like their day-to-day injuries, like there was a huge sigh of relief by all of Bills Mafia, because if these were serious injuries that would have taken some time for both these guys, then we would have to look at our linebacker core more. But I think with the way Leslie Frazier, and I've said this for a long time, I think you all agree, Leslie Frazier does a great job putting people in a position where they can succeed. And so no matter who you put on that defensive side of the ball, I think Leslie Frazier's going to have it on lockdown for the most part, especially in a game against a pretty weak Dolphins offense that we should still be able to take advantage of.
And before we get over to Clayton, excellent points, Joe. Before we get over to Clayton, I want to say Elliot Eisler, go puts in the chat. Thank you, fellas, for making us such an educated fan base. Bills YouTube, JA17 MVP, Bills Mafia, Hashtag Nation, Don Mafia, Believers, Go Bills. You forgot the cold front report, dude. No, I'm just kidding. Thanks, Elliot. Appreciate it. But Clayton, hearing what you heard from Dan, what's been coming off of the Bills sideline and what Joe just added there, what your take on the linebacker situation going into Miami?
Honestly, I think if you have your man in the middle, Tremaine Edmunds, in there, he'll be able to keep it intact on the defensive side of the ball as far as linebacking core is concerned for this game, specifically considering the running backs you're going up against. You're talking about Jordan Howard, Myles Gaskin, and Matt Breida. So honestly, the only real pass-catching threat of those three, in my opinion, of course, is Matt Breida. And they didn't really use him last week against New England, which was quite interesting to me. So I'm interested to see really what the plan is, because maybe that's something they were hiding in their back pocket against New England, so they didn't have anything on film to show the Bills in the second week. Or maybe they just didn't want to use him. I guess time will tell, and we'll see. But the interesting thing about Matt Milano possibly missing this game is, well, Terrell Dotson's going to come back. And if you ask me, Terrell Dotson last week, he kind of flashed and he impressed me in the areas that he needed to impress me. And that was him running down sideline, chasing down the quarterback and making a play in the backfield, and as well as playing solid coverage when he was asked to. So I think this is really an opportunity for somebody such as Terrell Dotson to set themselves apart in this linebacking core, because, to put it bluntly, I thought A.J. Klein looked like crap last week. I didn't like what I saw from A.J. Klein. He looked really old. He looked really slow. He looked like a square peg in a round hole in this defense, to be quite honest with you. And I'm really interested, like I said, I'm really interested to see if Terrell Dotson can make the most of this opportunity and possibly earn himself a long-term spot on this roster.
Yeah, I really liked what Dotson was able to bring to the table. Now, like you said, we got to maybe we have to take that with a grain of salt, given the competition of the Jets that was being presented there. I'm not against the possibility of Dotson as a Band-Aid for like 2 or 3 weeks, but as far as a long-term solution, I do happen to disagree with you a little bit, though, as far as the A.J. Klein. I didn't think he looked as bad as you did, when watching over the game and stuff like that. I think he was the insurance policy you got yourself for this situation when Milano goes down. And
right. Honestly, I see what you're saying here, and yeah. I wouldn't say I'm going to peel back on his criticism, but to be quite honest, he is what you paid for. He's not going to be athletic and flashy and cover Le'Veon Bell like Matt Milano. He's not going to run sideline to sideline. He is what you paid for. But to be quite honest, yes, the drop-off of play for Matt Milano and A.J. Klein, I felt like it was a little more than I had anticipated, to be quite honest with you.
And let's give A.J. Klein, like we've been talking about, this is week 1, no preseason. So, let's see if A.J. Klein can improve into that role a little bit. That would be, but I do agree. You could definitely tell a drop-off between A.J. Klein and Matt Milano. And I think that's always going to be there. Matt Milano is just a beast. I will give A.J. Klein the benefit of the doubt here. Let's see how he does week 2, especially if there is no Matt Milano, then he definitely needs to step up.
Yeah, I think what the Buffalo Bills will do to counter that, because a majority of the time when they did run their packages, it was mostly 2 linebackers, and the 2 linebackers were Milano and Edmonds, so those were your horses in there. I'm not against if it's going along the path of, okay, Edmonds can't go, you got Klein and Dodson. That's to me, that's good enough for Miami, but it's not going to be good enough for a lot of the other teams. I understand that. If you happen to, but we've seen this story before when Milano went down in 2018. What happened? Poyer came down and was playing a little bit more in the box because he's that type of a player, and they put an extra safety in there. The Bills have that type. They have more Jordan Poyer type, fly downhill and fill if they need to, kind of safeties rather than they do linebackers. What I would like to see, if it boils down to what Clayton was saying, where, okay, Edmonds is going to go, you don't like Klein at Milano's role, so what do you do? Well, here's what you do. Because you have all these defensive backs that have been in the system and know what they're doing, you put Klein in Zoe's role from last year. Now, if we're comparing Klein to Zoe, I think Klein is more athletic. He can move laterally a little bit better. He's just not going to give you that punch as a defensive tackle like Zoe would. You just don't put him in those packages. So if you're running Tremaine Edmonds, you put Klein on the other side because he is well versed in this defense. He can do it, and then you drop Poyer on Milano's side to kind of fill every once in a while. But if there's a guy that's going to figure it out, it's going to be Frazier, because he's going to put his guys like Joe said. He's going to put his guys in the position to win and in position to be successful. So. That's the linebacker situation. Like I'm scared about it long term. For short term, for this week, I'm not really that worried about it.
Yeah.
So let's shift over to the other side of the ball. We were talking on the Saturday night tailgate on the Cold Front Report, and if you guys, if you haven't followed the Cold Front Report, please do that on Facebook. They're actually on YouTube right now. I was kind of hesitant to tell you guys that, so you guys didn't leave us. But the point being is this: they're on Facebook consistently. They're always chugging out content. Jeremy's over there interviewing Lorenzo right now, actually. So. There goes half the screen. But anyway, point being is this: we were talking on the tailgate, and I caught a little bit of heat because we were doing some predictions, and I said, Stephon Diggs would have around 80 yards receiving, and I kind of caught some flack. And this one, I'm going to start with Joe, go to Dan, and I'm going to have Clayton clean up again because he was there. This offense is not an easy offense. I think that's what that proved. Not having a preseason, not having all this other stuff. This offense is really tough to get a hold of. So what did Josh Allen do? He went to guys who were very familiar in the offense. He was clicking John Brown early. He was clicking with, actually dumping it down to the backs every once in a while. So he was trying to get the ball to Diggs, but it seemed like Diggs was coming out of cuts faster than Allen was reading it, which you love to see. So that being said, Joe, do you think that this is – because he did take some shots. If Allen and Diggs have a similar type game where it's like, 8-9 catches for close to 100 yards, and he takes some shots, I'm kind of worried about some of the hits that he took. What is your take on the development of Allen and Diggs coming up in week 2 and beyond?
Well, I disagree and agree with some of the things you said there, so I'm going to break it down a little bit.
Okay.
I completely agree he took some shots, but I ding that up to a Greg Williams defense, so he's probably paying some people to do that. I mean, think about the shot that Allen took to the head on one of those completions that was flagged. Terrible hit, and if you watch it in slow-mo, I know some people were sharing on Twitter, it was obvious to even like the defender. He should have got ejected, and he should be fined. Like it was clearly a dirty hit, and let's be honest, that's Greg Williams' MO. I mean, we had Greg Williams on our team for a little bit. Like that's just his MO, and we remember Bounty Gate, all that kind of stuff, and so. We've seen Allen take cheap shots. Remember Stephen Hauschka? That's how he got injured. That's when things started going downhill for him. I mean, I don't like saying someone wants someone to get hurt. I don't think that Greg Williams will have minded if Diggs or Allen went out the way they burned him. But I will disagree with the fact of what you said about not going to Brown and Beasley early. You have to remember his first 3 passes. The first one was to the rookie Gabe Davis, and then the next 2 were completions to. I love that too. It was a 4-yard catch, but it was great to get him going. And then the next 2 were to Stephon Diggs. So he was obviously trying to create something early on.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's going to constantly improve, in my opinion. I mean, you even saw on the on Twitter, I forget who posted this, but you watch them 2 in practice, and they're constantly talking to each other. Diggs is coming over to Allen and saying, "Hey, what did you see here? How fast do you want me to break?" Things like that, and that's just huge when you're talking about development, especially. And we keep bringing this up, and I know every team has the same problem, but especially in a season where you don't have preseason, you can continue to develop. And I think that you're talking about 8 catches for 80 yards, something like that. I mean, that's how much more can you expect? And you even talk about Beasley with his 4 catches for how many yards he had. I mean, the ball was not only was Allen really good in this game, the distribution of your wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs was awesome as well. And so I think it's going to be just phenomenal the whole way around.
Dan, what do you got?
And so, yeah, man, honestly, like as far as the chemistry that he is like really trying to create, with the new wide receiver in Stephon Diggs. So I really want to see it happen during week 2, but unfortunately, I really think that the Buffalo Bills are about to be transitioning to the good old run the damn ball. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the Miami Dolphins secondary is a hell of a lot better than the Jets secondary that we witnessed during week 1. right? Especially when you consider that the Dolphins love to run like press man coverage. And unfortunately, Josh Allen only ends up completing, I'm pretty sure last year in 2019 was close to like 44% of his passes when it came down to man coverage. So unfortunately, I really don't see this chemistry being built during week 2 because I think the Bills are going to be going on ahead and focusing on the run game. But say that there's any receiver on the face of the planet that is going to be able to beat man coverage, it is going to be Stephon Diggs. And really when it comes down right with that matchup, I am a little nervous, but I think that we're not going to see this pass heavy attack that we saw during week 1 that we will see during week 2. But as far as coverage is concerned, I mean, I am really excited to see Josh Allen continuously create that chemistry with not only Diggs, but also the rookies that are out there right now. But at the end of the day, during week 2, do not expect a deep air attack like we saw during week 1.
Could it have been the 217 rushing yards that New England did?
Exactly.
Exactly. My man, I love it.
Exactly.
All right, Clayton.
We are running the damn ball.
I mean, that'd be a breath of fresh air, Dan. It'd be a breath of fresh air after they only gave it to their running backs 18 times last week.
Exactly.
I mean, those guys have fresh legs, shouldn't they? They should have fresh legs. I think you're going to see, in my opinion, I think you're going to see this week what I thought we were going to see last week, and that's see the Bills establish the run game early. But talking about more so the Jets game, that is one of the main things I took away from the Jets game is they established that passing offense early. And Brian Daboll did something that, I mean, you could probably contribute it to Allen not having the accuracy really being where he wanted it to be there where it should have been last season. But I think Brian Daboll's play calling also played into it. That first series, Allen really got into a nice rhythm. And up until he got into the red zone and he just flat out dropped the ball, I didn't think that was a bad play call. Allen needs to hold on to the ball in that situation. But I thought that was a solid first drive, and I liked the way he responded to that drive most importantly because after he dropped that ball, he came right out there and hung 21 on the Jets after his defense held the Jets' offense to 3 consecutive 3-and-outs. Mm-hmm. So it was definitely an impressive performance for Josh Allen in that first half. But what I do want to see going forward, and you know, I kind of said this on my podcast, I kind of said it on the Cole From Report live show and in the post game. The one thing that I really want to see this season more than anything, it's not a Josh Allen 300-yard passing game. We already seen that. It's not 400 yards. Hell, it's not even 500 yards. I want to see this offense be executed for 4 quarters. I want to see efficiency for 4 quarters. I want to see this offense be apparent for 4 quarters because that third quarter that we had last week, that can't happen anymore with the weapons that this offense has. It can't happen anymore 2 years into the same system. Like Mario said, 88% of the roster from last season returning. It can't happen. That includes that side of the ball. You have 9 of 11 of the same starters on that side of the ball, and the only 2 new ones are Darrell Williams and Stephon Diggs. So that's really the biggest thing that I want to see going forward is to see this offense be executed with efficiency for 4 quarters because, to be quite honest, I've never seen Brian Daboll coach for 4 quarters straight with very good, efficient coaching. And maybe you could say it's the execution, but, hey, all offenses boil down to execution.
So I think that –
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And so I think that's super funny because I saw a stat earlier today that the Bills averaged 3 points during the 3 quarters for the past 3 years.
Right.
We averaged 3 points for the past 3 years in all of the third quarter.
What you guys are failing to realize that Chex Mix cart comes around at halftime. So he got his fingers wrong.
He's gone. He's like, hey.
That's what he does at halftime. You know what? Thinking of the Miami Dolphins, listen. We talked a little bit. We touched a little bit about Brian Daboll. You know, Clayton, I couldn't be in more agreement with you. I mean, I have to be in the same room if I was in more agreement with you about Brian Daboll and this offense executing for 4 quarters. The thing about Brian Daboll and this offense that gets me is that it's a derivative of the New England offense. We all know that, the EP system and whatnot. Could there have been a better game to have for the Miami Dolphins than to play against Cam Newton, who Josh Allen's been compared to? I mean, I want to start with Clayton, go to Joe, and have Dan hit clean up on this one. You play against an EP system, Patriot derivative system, with a mobile quarterback who ends up rushing for 2 touchdowns. That being said, we just clicked. Everyone is all over the place now.
What just happened?
Dan
Dan probably got a call. Dan probably got a phone call.
But the point is, I'll try to redo this again. I'll redo it while it's going on. But the point is this: here's what I want to get about. What better preparation for the Bills could Miami have than playing against New England in the week before? Because I think they're going to clean up their rushing woes. So, Clayton, what do you think that you think I'm like completely far off base here with New England playing Buffalo and then be like, okay, we played against Cam Newton and a New England type of offense. We're going to be going up against another mobile quarterback and a two-headed monster in the run game. So what do you think that's going to be a little bit tougher road for the Buffalo Bills than we kind of assume going into it?
See, this is where it's interesting for me because don't get me wrong. I mean, I might sit here and say later in the show that I think the Bills are going to beat the Dolphins by 40, but at the same time, I'm still completely bought into what they're doing there with their general manager and their leadership in place with Brian Flores. I love Brian Flores as a coach. They really – I don't say this to be cliche. I don't say it because it's the easy comparison, but they really do remind me of the early stages of when Sean McDermott took over the Buffalo Bills. That's not me saying they're going to go to the playoffs this year, but that is me saying that is a team with a lot of upside. But now you're seeing really the first season where Brian Flores kind of pieced together some of the guys that he wants on that defense. Because don't get me wrong, really the only thing, in my opinion, that holds this team back is a legitimate quarterback and an offensive line. That's kind of how I felt looking through this team. And that offensive line is really young. It's really raw. But that defense, you're talking about them adding players like Shaq Lawson, who the Bills are going to see again this week, Kyle Van Noy in the offseason, Byron Jones. He's really kind of piecing together the player. Igbenogany in the slot. That was another nice addition that I liked that they made in the third round this year. It's going to be really interesting to see how the Bills choose to attack this defense because, to be quite honest, I'm not really seeing many weaknesses, especially with Jerome Baker in the middle. Who I think he had like 16 tackles last week.
He did.
And the guy went crazy. And Jerome Baker, I've always been a fan of Jerome Baker ever since he was coming out of college.
He's 220 pounds. It's crazy. Dude flies around.
He's a 3'4" middle linebacker, and he's 220 pounds. That's insane. That's insane. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how this offense chooses to attack this Dolphins defense. Don't get me wrong, Josh Allen has had half of his career statistics against the Dolphins over the last 2 years. So could I think that this might be an issue and it might not be completely? Possibly. But I guess time will tell and we'll see. But I think you're going to see the Bills offense a little eased up this week.
Okay. Joe, what do you think about it? Do you think there's – or could it be the flip side? Could it be the fact that the Buffalo Bills run a New England type of offense? Miami just played New England, and they ran the ball down their throat. Do you think that formula could bode well for the Buffalo Bills coming up this week?
So as both Clayton and Dan were talking about how we're going to go to the run the damn ball methodology for this game. Words are tough for me, especially when I'm drinking vodka. So thanks, guys.
Where else?
I actually do not see the game plan going much different. Now I see the carries when you talk about running the ball being spread out a little bit better. You talk about Josh Allen having 14 carries. That should never happen again. But you're talking about.
How dare you say that, Joe? How dare you say that?
But now I don't want to be one of those people who are blaming Brian Dable for that, just because a lot of those were read options. I mean, you go back to that game, and there were 5 or 6 read options that Josh Allen decided to keep the ball and lose 3 yards every time. I don't know why, but that's okay. So anyway, but there were 32 rushing attempts overall for the Buffalo Bills, and I think that's going to be about the same. And we talk about how great the Miami Dolphins cornerbacks are, and they are, and there's a reason why they have one of the best cornerback duos in the league. But remember what the Bills' offense did against Stephon Gilmore last year in New England. They went right at him. In fact, when Josh Allen went out in the first Patriots game, the first and really the only good Matt Barkley play that happened was a Matt Barkley pass to John Brown, which John Brown caught, even though he was passing interfered with by Stephon Gilmore. Yeah. Like they didn't mind attacking, and they should still do that. If we want to claim that we have a top 3 pass offense, then we need to do it against the best in the league. And I think we have the potential to have that good of a passing offense. And so I think we're going to have the same game plan. No matter, I think Brian Dable should say, yeah, you have a great defense. Let me show what we got, and then just beat them straight up.
Fantastic.
All right, Dan,
Fantastic.
what do you got? You think the fact? I mean, while you were out getting your beverages, we were we were talking about the fact.
Sorry,
that,
boys.
No, the fact that Dable runs primarily a derivative of a New England Patriots system.
Got it.
The Dolphins just played the New England Patriots, who ran the ball down their throat. Do you think this is going to work as an advantage to the New England Patriots, or do you think the Bills have the upper hand here with their talent and their running game?
And so 110%, dude. Like, so many Miami Dolphins YouTubers are saying, like, oh, dude, like the Dolphins, like they're working on like stopping the run. And listen, and with everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? And so if you don't have the personnel to stop the run, it's not going to happen. The Buffalo Bills are about to run it down the Miami Dolphins' throat right on Sunday. And like I was telling you, like from like that, yes, I am scared of the Miami Dolphins secondary, but at the end of the day, I still expect Dawson Knox and Cole Beasley to absolutely eat. As far as Stephon Diggs is concerned, last year when he faced the Cowboys against Byron Jones, he was only targeted 6 times, and he only ended up catching 3 of those passes by itself. So unfortunately, I don't see him being a huge factor during week 2. But something that helps me sleep well at night is the fact that Josh Allen is the Miami Dolphins' daddy. He does the best that he ever does when he goes up against the Miami Dolphins. I'm pretty sure he has over 13 touchdowns, 913 yards, 0 interceptions in 2019, mind you. It's going to be a very, very good game, but as far as the Dolphins' plan of being able to make adjustments and be able to stop the run, they have 0 chance. They have 0 chance. Josh is going to run all over them. Same with Singletary, and same with Zach Moss. It doesn't matter how they prepare. This is something that is a weakness within the Dolphins' defense, and it's about to be exposed on Sunday.
And I don't want to break Bills fans' hearts while we're watching the stream here, but Josh Allen is one Charles Clay drop away from being 4-0 against the Dolphins.
Exactly.
Oh, I remember that.
110%.
Are we gonna?
110%.
You guys want to argue if that was an underthrow or a drop again?
Oh, it was an underthrow.
That was a fun weekend. That was a really fun weekend. I got blocked so many times. But I actually have an interesting question for all of you guys, because last week I felt like the inability to establish any kind of running game revolving around our running backs wasn't necessarily due to the fact that the Jets were just that good. Rather due to the fact that we didn't run it with our running backs for a whole half. Am I the only one that feels like it wasn't necessarily the offensive line's fault? It wasn't necessarily the defense just out-executing them, because I heard it a lot. And I mean, I made the mistake and said it once, but Jeremy Turner Montgomery corrected me right on stream. And he reminded me, no, that wasn't the second best rush defense they were facing from 2019. Keep in mind, they're missing 3 of their 4 best players.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. Or maybe you could say, no, never mind. They still have Quinnen Williams, but they lost Jamal Adams. They lost C.J. Mosley. They lost Avery Williamson. That's a lot of their good talent on that side of the ball, and that's kind of why you saw players like still trying to figure out who number 44 is on the Jets, guys, by the way. I can't see the chat right now, but if someone knows number 44 on the Jets, please tell me who he is. Please tell me who he is, because after Blake Cashman left the game, that's really where I thought the Jets were on their 53rd of the 53. So, but in all seriousness, I want to know who the responsibility falls on for the fact that the running game couldn't get going. Do you guys feel like it's more so Brian Dable, or do you think it's due to lack of execution on the offensive line?
I think
And so let me tell you what I ended up seeing like during that game, as far as from the run game perception, was the fact that out of all the run plays, so I saw very little outside runs, and so I saw them all like trying to pound that defensive line as far as all the times that they attempted to run during that week 1 matchup. So I would probably have to say Brian Dable would probably be at fault. Now, don't get me wrong. And so I do think, like, as far as the New York Jets, they are hands down the worst team in the NFL right now. But one thing that I will give them is their ability to stop the run. But the one thing that I didn't see was those outside runs. And that's exactly why I think that they were so good at being able to, like, stop that right in their tracks.
Well, I think the thing about that is, and real quick, Breaking Tables Bills Talk says, Zoe said before the season started if the Bills needed him this season, he'd be willing to return this season. Do you think the Bills should ask him to return? I don't know if we're there yet, but I think that's a great point to bring up. Thank you for your super chat. I appreciate that. Yeah,
I'd be on the phone with him every week. Every Monday, I'd be like, "Zoe, you want to come back? Zoe, you want to come back? Zoe, you want to come back?"
to answer Clayton's question, I think what the Jets' central philosophy going into the game was, listen, let's let Allen beat us with his arm. Let's let Allen beat us with his arm. You got to see a few of those runs. I don't think the Jets really plan for them. I don't think they plan for those, those pistol option plays, read option play. Allen with a read option in the NFL. I'm like, I'm going to have an aneurysm in a second. I swear to God. But point being,
it's not even working. It's not even working. It was stopped immediately. It was stopped immediately every time.
Listen, there's a point to be made that, okay, and I even said it at the stream, was the Bills' offense crisper than they've been in the past? I thought it was. However, don't try to camouflage certain things because of what the result of the play was versus what the play actually was called. So if you end up having, we used to do it on the Friday film room last year. My brother and I would break down the film. We say, oh, yeah, the Bills got a 9-yard gain on this play. But the play was a broken play. Like, it's not something that you draw up in the dirt. So that being said, I think a lot of the positive plays that went on in the Bills game camouflage some of the things that really weren't working that well and the plays that weren't called really that well. So I really think, though, the Jets came into this game saying, listen, we're going to stop the run. They have Moss, they have Singletary. If they get the run game going, then Diggs, Beasley, Brown, Knox, all those guys are going to be open. So let's try to just focus on stopping the run. Quinnen Williams is a monster. So let's just try to do that and then see if Allen could beat us with his arm. And I think the Bills just threw a couple of looks at them that were just like, okay, we've never seen that on film before. What's going on here? So, I don't know, Joe, do you think that holds any water?
So here's what I would have to say about the situation, and I have no idea how I'm answering this question, just so you know ahead of time. But the Bills held the ball for 42-plus minutes in this game. Normally, a run defense would be gassed by the fourth quarter, right? Absolutely gassed. When you're talking about a team holding the ball for more than 2/3 of the game. And yet the Jets were still doing their job. I mean, the Jets front line, the rest of the team sucks, but the front line was still doing their job. And so you do, I don't want to, the Jets don't have much, Clayton. So if you take away the run defense, what do they have left? Let's give them something. Let's throw them a bone and say they had good run defense. But no, I think it's a combination of the two. I don't blame anyone for not calling good run plays. Again, those options, if you rewatch the game in the first half, there were 5 option calls. There were 2 that Allen kept them in particular, I think of off the top of my head, where Singletary had a lane and he kept them. And it was just like, why would you keep them? So I think the Jets defense does deserve a little bit of the credit here, just because, again, 40 minutes left of the ball. I think the offense did a lot of great things on Sunday. But, you do have to be able to run the ball in this league. I think about, I've heard people say, and we were doing this last year too, what's the Bills' offensive, what's words with vodka, terrible guys.
Identity.
Yeah, what's the Bills' identity on offense? Thanks. Why does that matter? I watched the Kansas City Chiefs last Thursday, and I have no idea what their identity is because Clyde Hilaire was just a monster, and you still have Patrick Mahomes. So why is it so important that we know? Because if we know what the Bills' identity is, then other teams will too. And I don't want that. I want them to say, well, Josh Allen can beat the shit out of us. Well, Singletary can beat us. Moss can beat us. Well, what do we plan for? Oh, we just plan to get our butts whooped. That's what we plan for. I don't know if the answer is anything that was said. I don't know. Going back to drinking.
Joe, you're too much.
So that was an awesome take. take. 5-star, baby.
My God. Yeah, so coming up against the Miami Dolphins here, we're gonna have a little fun with these guys, and I can't thank these guys enough, Dan, Joe, and Clayton, for coming on. We're gonna play a little over under with these guys, and I might have to put a clock on some of them because Joe's been hitting the sauce a little bit. Dan's going on a beer run, and Clayton didn't update his fake ID yet, so I'm not really sure what's gonna be happening here. So all that stuff intertwined. I'm gonna go. You guys just tell me over, under, and give you a quick reason why. We're going to do the round table. I'm going to go Dan, Clayton, Joe, and then the next question we'll cycle it back again, Joe, Clayton, Dan. All right? Okay. So, Dan, first question. Over, under, 250 passing yards for Allen. What do you got?
I'm going under.
Okay.
And so I'm saying he probably passes for about 220, and the majority of the positive yards are going to be on the ground. And so I see Moss and Singletary rushing for a total of 150 combined.
Okay, and then because I didn't mention it, you guys already know, #Nation, you guys have been through this gauntlet already. You're willing to play as well, so throw them in there. Clayton, what do you got? Over or under for Allen throwing for 250?
I'm going to say under, but I do think he gets over 300 total yards for this game with his rushing combined. I think they're going to run. I honestly think they're going to look at what the Patriots did last week with Cam Newton and do it. Even though I don't want to see it, you're going to see a lot of Josh Allen running around the football field this week, and I do think he does have quite a statistical performance against the Dolphins again, but more so of a balanced approach compared to last week.
Gotcha. Joe, what do you got, bud?
I'm going to say over. Most of those yards are going to be yards after catch. You got Cole Beasley, Gabe Davis, and Dawson Knox all over the middle. They're going to create some plays after the catch, and so I think a lot of dink and dunk, but still over 250 yards.
Get the over on that one. Very nice, very nice. I am going to oh boy. I'm going to take the over because Dan and Clayton already took the under. I got to join Joe in there. I'm going to say I don't think it's going to be that easy a sledding for him, and I think that there's going to be chances where you're going to see an overly aggressive defense trying to make a play, trying to step in front of one, and with the playmakers that the Buffalo Bills have, John Brown, Cole Beasley, and Stephon Diggs, those are guys that could take it to the house if you leave them open for a second. So I'm really interested to see that. Dawson Knox may be your sleeper guy in this game that may come out with a breakout game because he scored a touchdown last year in the game down in Miami. I remember that, but I remember watching the film of that game, and he was always open. All right, so here we go. Next up, and we'll start with Joe, then Clayton, then Dan. Moss, 70 yards rushing. Over under.
So I just saw Steve put an over under on Pumples. Stop it, Steve. Stop it. Stop it. Stop that negativity. Zach Moss over under 70 yards. I'm gonna go over.
All right.
But barely. Like I'm gonna say less than 85 because you're gonna split those carries three ways with Allen, Singletary, and Moss. But yeah, I'm gonna go with over because all I have to do is break two of those babies, and you're looking pretty good.
Nice. Clayton, what do you got?
I'm going to say over, and I'm going to add a little bit of something to this. He's going to have it on less than 15 carries.
Ooh. Less than 15 carries. So he breaks a couple, huh?
Yeah, he rips off a couple.
he just got all like...
Rips him off.
He got all Marvin Gaye there for a second. He's like, he's going to rip off a couple. Bad boys right here. He's going to rip off a couple. Okay. Dan, come in. Moss, over under 70 yards rushing.
And so for Moss, I have under, but he will have 2 touchdowns. And so one passing and one rushing, just because I have a feeling that he's about to be used for short down situations and goal line situations.
Got it. I think he plays a Mike Tolbert type role this week. I think he probably has 26.
Do not put that deja vu on him. Do not.
He's going to have 27 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. That's what's going to happen.
27 yards
on 27. I'm gonna put him with the under because I think that they're gonna try to get their horse because McDermott in the offense and those guys, they want to reward guys that have paid their dues. And last year Singletary was paying his dues. I think he'll get most of the carries in this type of offense, and I think he'll end up taking the rock and he'll end up doing a lot. Which brings us to our next one. Singletary. Dan, starting with you, 100 all-purpose yards.
Definitely over.
Okay. Right.
Definitely over. But barely over. But definitely that.
Definitely getting 101.
Definitely that.
And so I say like 105, 110. And so I definitely agree with you, Mario. And so I feel like he's going to be the feature back on Sunday. And he's probably going to dominate about 60-65% of the carries going on Sunday.
All right. Clayton, what do you got?
Going over. Order's going to be running all over the Dolphins this week. I think you're really going to see this be the Devin Singletary game. I think this is going to be the game we look back. I think he's going to get the rock a lot. I think you're going to see him get 20-plus carries in this game. He's going to get plenty of opportunities, and I think he's going to make the most of them. Last week, I was really disappointed with his lack of a workload, and I really felt like he had a lot to prove last week. He had a lot to show, and he just didn't get that opportunity. And I think that it's going to be the inverted case in this game. And I think you're going to see them feed him the ball plenty of times, and I think you're going to see him make the most of opportunity. I think he's going to go over 100 all-purpose yards, and he's going to score at least 2 touchdowns.
Ooh. You playing him in fantasy this week?
No, I'm not. I played John Brown last week, and that well for everyone who watched Tailgate Show. He was the highest. He scored the most points on my team, and I got blown out.
Nice.
John Brown, huh?
All right, Joe, what do you got, buddy?
I feel like if I go over here, that means I have the Bills getting like 500 yards of total offense. So I'm not sure if I can hope maybe he gets a lot of passing yards, and then we'll be all right. Because I want to go over here. I think 100 yards will be easy actually for Devin Singletary. I think he gets closer to 150 than 100.
All right, so I'm gonna go. That's why it's below 0. That's why you were mad about that overthrow, because you had John Brown. You guys all took over. I'm going to take the under because I firmly believe that what the Bills are trying to do this week, they want to try to be more balanced. 46 pass attempts by Josh Allen last week is absurd when you have those two running backs in the backfield. I think they're going to try to be a little bit more they're not going to run 87 offensive plays again. That's not going to happen. Right. So I think what's going to happen is they're going to try to spread the ball around a little bit. Moss will have a few here. Allen will have a few here. And Singletary will have a few there. I think he'll get close, but I don't think he'll go over. I'll take the under on that one. So, flipping it over to the defensive side of the ball. Jerry Hughes, 2 sacks. Over, under. Joe, go.
Under. The Patriots put a lot of pressure on Ryan Fitzpatrick last week, but they still only had 1 sack. So I think that will force a lot of bad throws by Ryan Fitzpatrick, but not get the sack numbers.
No, well, I should have an over-under. Who forces more bad throws from Fitzpatrick, Hughes or Fitzpatrick himself? Him with that crow's hop throw that he does.
Yeah.
All right.
Brutal.
You ever seen him throw a 15-yard out? He winds up that bad boy and tries to throw it.
Right to Trey White. Oh, yeah.
That's beautiful. All right, Hughes, 2 sacks. Clayton, what do you got? Over, under?
We're going to go with the under because just like Joe said, I think Ryan Fitzpatrick, while he may be an erratic quarterback, he's definitely a smart quarterback. And he'll get the ball out pretty quickly. It might not go to the right team, but he'll get the ball out plenty quick enough so he doesn't take a hit. That's why he's 38 years old and he's still stuck around in this league is he knows how to not take hits. But something I definitely wanted to touch on while we're talking about sacks and defensive linemen. I think it'll be a great opportunity to activate AJ Epinesa this week. And Andrew Jackson, let's not forget. I think that's his first name. Don't quote me on that. Andrew Jackson, one of their first round picks. Epinesa handed him his ass in college. He did. He did. He had 2 sacks against him in the bowl game. So I think this is an opportunity to get Epinesa in the game, give an opportunity to succeed. I still don't know why they didn't suit him up last week. Leslie Frazier said they thought Darryl Johnson. He just gave him kind of coach speak with his answer to that question. But I think that's a matchup to watch if they activate Epinesa versus his former college foe Jackson.
That's an amazing stat. I love that.
Mario, the last time we talked about this when the Dolphins made that pick. Well, the last time I had to talk about Andrew Jackson versus AJ Epinesa, I was with Mario, and I remember him. He brought that up last time, and I don't know why he doesn't remember that.
I brought it up. Oh God, I must have been in complete draft mode. I just blacked out. I was like Will Ferrell in Old School. What happened? I just blacked out.
I got it.
I can't remember. That's pretty hysterical. Dan, I can't remember anything, man. I'm an old man. All right, Dan, you got the over/under for Jerry Hughes having 2 sacks.
Jerry Hughes having 2 sacks.
He's still on the team, Dan.
And so I don't see. Well, no. And so I don't see him having any sacks, to be honest with you. But I do see our defensive line racking up 3, and so I see Mario Addison grabbing 2.
We got some people in the chat saying, "Oh, did you guys know Fitz went to Harvard? Oh my God, that's crazy."
Sure did.
Really?
I don't even know where Harvard is.
He had a 49 on the Wonderlic, ladies and gentlemen. He had a 49.
And rumor is he purposely got the last one wrong.
I would. He took it in 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Freaking mania. I'm gonna go with the over for Hughes. Since you guys are all under, I'm gonna go with the over. I just think that he's gonna end up. He ended up having to. He was pushing around a tractor trailer last week in Mekhi Becton, and I don't think it's going to be too tough of sledding for him this week. I think he's gonna have some twists inside, some spin moves, and going in and just surprise fits, and he's gonna get to him because of what I think the Bills do. If you send a blitz against Fitzpatrick, you're giving him the answers. You know, I mean, you guys, all of you have said that, what a smart quarterback he is. He knows the game. You give him the answers to the test if you blitz him. I think they're going to have a much straightforward approach, especially if you don't have the commander in there. If you have Dodson in there for Edmonds, you're going to play a very vanilla defense, and Hughes is just going to end up teeing off on that side on the tackle, and I think he's going to end up getting in there for 2.5 sacks. I'll take the over there for 2.5 sacks. So.
Hughes,
Yes,
really?
yes, that's
Interesting.
that's close to my bold prediction this week. That's pretty close.
That'd be as
And so I feel like that we
2014.
All right. And so I feel like that we need to make this a weekly thing, just so we know exactly who was right about these over-unders.
Oh, absolutely. Believe me, I
Like,
keep
we need
all
to
my
make this
receipts,
weekly
Dan. I keep all my receipts, buddy.
Facts.
All right, coming back around with Dan. This is not going to be a good one. It's not going to be a good one. So I'm coming back around. Since everyone's so high on this, I'm going to bring it down a little bit. Dan, Clayton, then Joe. Alan, 1.5 interceptions. Over, under.
It's going to be under
Okay.
for me, just because throughout the entire year of 2019, he did not throw a single interception against the Dolphins.
No,
He's
he
going
didn't.
to continue that trend. 0 interceptions. And I'm pretty sure that he hasn't thrown an interception in how long? In 12 games?
There it is.
13 games?
There it is. Every time they flash that stat about this kicker hasn't missed in 26 attempts, and the guy shanks one off the goalpost
and
from
then
22
shanks right
yards.
afterwards. Yeah, exactly. And so I probably just jinxed it, to be honest.
I'm gonna tag you on Twitter when it happens. With that being said, I'm taking the over.
All right, Clayton's taking the over. He's going to throw 2? You think he's going to throw 2?
Unfortunately, yeah.
I don't think that's unfortunate, though. I think the growing pains, he's still in the midst of these growing pains of this offense.
So this kind of goes into what we were talking about earlier with how much talent they added to that defense over the offseason, because you have Byron Jones, you have Xavier Howard. This isn't going to be the Jets. You're not going against the worst team you're going to play this season this time around when you're playing the Dolphins, and that's a lot of talent on that side of the ball. And it's really, the Bills have their horses. Well, so do the Dolphins. Okay, let's play football. And it's a game of chess between Brian Flores and Brian Dable. And I guess time will tell, and we'll see. We'll see if Josh Allen can read the answers and execute properly. And I think this is a very good test with the least amount of pressure that we can see this early into the season. Because don't get me wrong, I don't think the Bills lose this game by a mile. I think the Bills are going to win this game fairly handedly. But I think it's an opportunity for Josh Allen and this offense to get its legs going against what I consider to be a top 16 defense in the league.
Yeah, Mike brings up a great point in the chat. He says Josh isn't going to have all day in the pocket to throw like he did last Sunday. He's not. He's not. So, Joe, over-under on picks for Allen, 1.5. What do you got?
If you were to put that on turnovers total, I'd go over.
Okay.
But I'm going to go under on interceptions. And I'm going to bring up something very rarely brought up that I watched in the Eagles game this past Sunday when I rewatched that game. We have wide receivers that are not afraid to go back to the ball and are not afraid to break up interceptions. And, if you watch the Eagles game, you'll notice the difference in wide receivers when they aren't afraid to take that extra 2 steps back and say, no, you're not getting the interception, play a little defense. Mm-hmm. And I think that might come in handy in this game. But we have some dogs at wide receiver who aren't afraid to go after the ball. And so I think that might prevent an interception or 2. I'm going to go under on the interceptions, but probably over on the total turnovers.
I love that. I love that take. I love that take about the wide receivers. They're just really hungry. They're coming back to the ball. They'll break stuff up. I'm unfortunately going to take the over. I just think that I think he'll have 2, but I think one will be like opening day last year, the one that he threw too low and it went off of Beasley's knee up in the air and Mosley picked it and ran it back. I don't expect a pick 6 out of Allen, but what I'm saying is one of those is going to be off the receiver's hands, high over the middle or something, and it goes off him, and then the safety's coming up and picks it. Just not one that's just a completely obliterated throw, but just one that just gets away from him. I think he'll have 2 in an instance. So, all right, keeping with we got a couple more left, and then we have to give our predictions for the game. I'll just do this for the last one then. Bills defense, Joe, Clayton, then Dan. Bills defense holding Miami under. Or the yardage is 90 yards. Over under of 90 yards rushing for Miami.
So I thought you were going to go total defense. I was like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, total defense there.
Total defense, 90 yards, right? So over under 90 yards.
90
rushing,
yards rushing.
I think that's going to be over. I think Miami, their best chance to win this game is ball control, and they have 3. I'm going to say above average. I'm not going to say they have a 3-headed monster or nothing like that. But they have a 3 above average running backs, and I think they're going to try to use that to their advantage. And I think they're going to have over especially with Milano out. We've seen that with Milano out, the run game of the opposing team normally does a little bit better. So I'm going to go with over 90 yards.
All right. Clayton, what do you got?
I'm going to go under. I'm going to go with the under, similar to why you didn't see the Jets offense do squat on the ground last week. That's partially in part due to the Bills coming out to an early lead and it just not making much sense to run the ball going forward with Le'Veon Bell. But to be quite honest with you, I think that this Bills defensive line is going to maul the Miami Dolphins offensive line. You're talking about an offensive line that's starting 3 rookies, and that Bills defensive line, I think they're going to have a day. You talk about how deep they are, how much depth they have, and how versatile almost virtually every single player on that defensive line is. I think Leslie Frazier is going to find the mismatches across the trenches, and I think that's where the game is going to be won on the Bills on the defensive side of the ball this week for the Bills.
Interesting.
Interessant. All right, Dan, what do you got for me?
And so I have over.
Okay.
And so I have over. And so I think with Matt Milano not being in the game, I think that just the common denominator of when the Bills have had an issue of stopping the run was when Milano was not in the game by itself. Slightly over. And so I could see like 110 to 120 rushing yards from the Dolphins.
All right. Yeah, we're approaching that hour. So what we're going to do is now, like I said, Joe, Clayton, and Dan, I can't thank you guys enough. What we're going to do is we're going to get our score predictions for the game.
Oh, you didn't give us your prediction, Omar.
Oh, I'm gonna go under. I'm gonna go under
right.
for the rushing, just for the simple fact that what Clayton said, they're going to eat. That defensive line is going to eat. You looked at none of those defensive tackles. I mean, not Star. I'm so worried. Star, come
Who's
back,
that?
please. Ed Oliver played the most. I think he played like 64% of the snaps on that defensive front. They always love doing that rotational front. So if your guy that's playing the most snaps up there is only playing 64%, that means they're going to be more fresh. They're going to be in there. They're going to be the offensive line can't adjust to them as well if you have a guy that's in there for about 70-80% of the snaps. So like I said, I think they're going to eat and they're going to hold that. They're going to hold that running game down. So all right, so. The score and the bold predictions. You have to give a score and one bold prediction for the game. I'm going to start with Clayton. We're going to kick it over to Joe, and then we're going to clean up with Dan and then me. So I know you love these, Clayton. You love these ones. So, the score first, and then what do you think your biggest bold prediction of the game would be?
Boldest of the bold. See, I wanted to have time to think of a bold prediction, but I'm going to say 27-10 Bills. I think the Bills, this is the game where – could it be kind of a trap game like it was last year against Miami and Buffalo? Maybe. Mm-hmm. But this is a game where talented football teams take care of business, whether you're on the road or you're at home. And I think the Bills are going to do just that this week. For a bold prediction, I don't know. I'm going to say Dawson Knox is the leading receiver this week.
Ooh. I love that. Dawson Knox, leading receiver. Keeping my receipts. All right. I like that. I actually like that bold prediction. We got Elliot Eisler in the chat. Says bold prediction: Diggs and Davis both get their first TDs as Buffalo Bills. I like it. Joe Sharp from Believers Talk. If you're not following me, better. Joe, what is the score of the game, and what is your bold prediction for the Buffalo Bills?
We're all about the same age, right? Mario, you're an old man. But other than that, we're all about the same age here.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah. But I fall into this trap of disappointment just because that's what I'm used to, right? Yes. And so Bills fans, don't hate me. I do not see us covering the spread. I see us winning the game. I do not see us covering the spread. Let's go 27-24 Bills.
27-24.
And again, good teams, as Clayton just said, good team. As I stalled, I think my bold prediction. Good teams find a way to win these type of games. And it's a divisional game. And listen, Bills fans should be happy about that. 2-0 against the division to start off the season. You couldn't ask for anything more than that. So 27-24 Buffalo Bills. My bold prediction might be somewhere close to what it was last week. Hashtag Sports tweeted out, what's your bold prediction for this game? I responded, and it did not happen. I kept my receipt, and I asked to send it back, but they wouldn't take it. Andre Roberts finally busts a return for a touchdown.
Wow.
That's so that was my bold prediction. Andre Roberts. Listen, I just
he looked good last
Andre
week.
Roberts enough. What'd you say?
He looked good. You
He
look good
did.
last
We do
week.
not give Andre Roberts enough love for last week. I mean, especially that first quarter. Like, we were starting at midfield every time.
Beautiful.
That's amazing. All right, Dan, what do you got, buddy?
All right, and so final score is 28-10, and so I see the Bills dominating this game. And so right before we actually have a challenge during week 3, and my bold prediction is similar to Clayton's, but my number 1 receiver is going to be Cole Beasley. He is about to eat.
I was thinking about Beasley. Beasley and Knox seem so intriguing today because it seems like the pattern that you talk about with the 2 of the top 5 paid corners play in Miami, and you got Brown and Diggs on the outside. You think they're going to just lock them up and play 9-on-9, which isn't a bad philosophy, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
But I got the Buffalo Bills winning this game 21-17 because of good old Fitz magic. Just keeping a minute here and there. That's what he does. And my bold prediction for this week is going to be that Josh Allen has 250 all-purpose yards, passing and rushing. That's where he's going to go. That's where I know it sounds kind of weird because he, as Dan has said, he has feasted on the Miami Dolphins. It may not be that bold of a prediction, but because of his success that he's had against a Brian Flores defense and his team, as everyone mentioned, he has 7 touchdowns. Last year he had 7 touchdowns and 0 picks against the Dolphins in the 2 games that he played, not just passing and rushing. So I think that he's going to struggle to get to 200 yards passing, and he may have like 40, 30 to 40 yards rushing on the ground just because what he's. No, Mike Trotter. I did not mean 350. I did not mean that. I just wanted to go back and read some of the comments with the hot takes.
I love everyone who's leaving chats right now. I love you guys.
It was
much.
amazing.
So awesome.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It's, Miami's not.
So I'll be right back, y'all.
Joe, are you high? Permanent markers.
I'm not high. I'm drunk.
Trey White has 2 picks. We got Trey White having 2 picks. Is the bold prediction? Croft catches 2 TDs. Bold prediction: more Bills fans in the stands than Miami. Gabe Davis is his first touchdown. I love this one. Make sure to keep Dan's receipts. They're usually write-offs.
Holy shit.
Steve Hampton. That is a fun. You win the internet today, buddy. That's the freaking phenomenal. So let's just go around the horn real quick since Dan's not here. Joe, what's coming up on Believers Talk in the next upcoming days? You calling the game this weekend or what? What's going on?
Absolutely. So first of all, most of you are used to seeing me halftime at Thursday Night Football, doing my 3 keys to victory, but I couldn't miss this. This is awesome. I will always do collabs with you guys before anything else. But that will come out tomorrow at noon. I'll do the video after we're done here, and then I'll post it tomorrow at noon. And then, live streaming the Bills game, live play-by-play and reaction to every single play. Obviously, YouTube restrictions won't let me show you the game. But if you can't watch the game, or if you want to watch the game and hang out with a couple of fans from Bills Mafia, let's hang out, have a good time. So, absolutely.
Dan's not here, man. Okay, Clayton, what's going on in the cold front report?
Oh, we got the normal lineup on our page every week. We have a bracket schedule for our live shows every week. Lorenzo Alexander goes on with Jeremy Turner Montgomery on Thursdays to do a pregame show every Thursday night, 9:30 p.m. And then we have the Saturday night tailgate with myself and Mookie Hawkins. And we have the postgame show with myself, Jeremy Turner Montgomery, and Fred Kilmartin. You do not want to miss out on what we have going on the Cold Front Report Facebook page. Be sure to follow us, Cold Front Report, Buffalo Bills News. And I just recently dropped my podcast with fellow co-host Jeff Uvino, the Overtime Podcast presented by the Cold Front Report. Episode 35 just dropped today. We Jets recap and Dolphins preview, pretty straightforward. And that's about it. If you want to find me on Twitter, it's at CFR Clayton and at CFR Clayton on Instagram as well.
Yeah, I was in the impromptu-ness of this collab. I forgot to put all that stuff. All of that information for these gentlemen will be down in the description as well. So after you hit the subscribe button, make sure you go and check these guys out. Dan, what do you got coming up on for the Don Mafia this upcoming week?
Yeah, guys. So I just ended up dropping my so the video for the Dolphins as far as the preview is concerned. I dropped that today, so feel free rates. And so with that. And then I also have a video lined up where we are going to be having a debate between 2 Dolphins fans and 2 Bills fans. And Mario, I actually wanted to ask if you wanted to be a part of that. Sorry, guys. But definitely wanted to see what was going on with that as well. And then me and former safety Aaron Williams, we started our own podcast called Believe in Bills. We just ended up dropping our preview for the Miami Dolphins game coming up. We just dropped it legitimately an hour ago. So, I mean, definitely subscribe to that on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts and just be a part of the fun, baby.
Absolutely, no question. Joe, I have one question for you before we get out of here. What are we doing wrong? Cold Front's talking to Zoe. Dan's talking to Aaron Williams. Can we get any former players with us, like just chatting? This is kind of BS, man. I'm tired of talking to Paul.
Mario, well, first of all, I can understand that. But Mario, nobody likes me. Like, even my wife doesn't want me around.
So I like you, Joe.
Like, yeah, I seem like a cool guy.
Drunk Joe's a different animal than. So
that's true. And Clayton, I seem like a cool guy for like 2 days, and then you're like, "What the hell did I do?
It's like
How did I hang
fish.
out with this guy?"
Fish starts to sink after 3 days. That's what happens. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, for Dan Mitchell and the Don Mafia Report, Clayton Garrett over at the Cold Front Report, Joe Sharp and all the believers. Hashtag Nation, you are unbelievable. Mario, you need a Deion Dawkins exclusive. I don't want him to strangle me. Thank you guys. Snowman's going to strangle me. But we want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. Enjoy the game. I'm going to be over, as far as hashtag goes, I'm going to be over on the Cold Front Report for the Saturday tailgate. And then I got to talk with Dan about taking down 2 Dolphins. So it's going to be pretty awesome. You guys have a great evening and enjoy your weekend.